Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Prime Minister said law enforcement officers cannot seize gun licenses. He is wrong. An RPAL or PAL is invalidated when it's seized by police for public safety, and that person has no ability at law to possess or acquire any firearm. Will the Prime Minister now admit that Canada has long had legal options to seize firearms in public safety scenarios and apologize for misleading this House yesterday?
Mr. Speaker, let me be very clear. Red flag laws save lives. I've actually used those sections of the criminal code to seize firearms in these dangerous situations. And I can also advise you, Mr. Speaker, of the limitations of those laws. Mr. Speaker, we know that the average assaulted woman in Canada is assaulted 25 times in a domestic relationship before the police are in fact called. 70% of firearm deaths in this country are suicides. And we know that there are people exploiting violence and hatred against visible minorities. Mr. Speaker, these laws will empower Canadians to take action to render a dangerous situation, a potentially deadly situation, safe.
Yesterday, if you recall, I rose to point out that the Prime Minister was misleading Canadians on firearms.
That's right.
Public safety should not be a political game. Absolutely. It is our duty in this House to get the facts right to protect Canadians. The current law is very clear. If a firearm owner poses a threat, authorities can confiscate firearms and suspend licenses, preventing further purchases of firearm or possession. If our public safety minister actually had a PAL or an RPAL, he'd already know this instead of trying to develop what he's doing. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister rise, apologize, and correct the record?
Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I will admit I'm not a recreational firearm user, but I have actually enforced and used these laws to keep communities and people safe. And what I can tell you, the authority that exists in law.
Okay, please continue.
The laws that are currently available that enable law enforcement to seize firearms and to revoke a license are limited in their application, Mr. Speaker. And it is only in the circumstances where reasonable probable grounds exist and only in circumstances where a seizure of a firearm has taken place that a firearm can be revoked. And the practical application of that, Mr. Speaker, is that until there's been a return to a justice and that information is conveyed to the Chief Firearms Officer, that license can be...
Député de La Prairie.